A lot of talk about stealing signs this week and Michigan and investigations and all that, and they still played a football game on Saturday. Michigan State, it sounds like, actually considered not playing this football game from what I saw on the internet. But regardless, Michigan dominating Michigan State. Final score 49-0. We got a lot to talk about with this game. Got a lot to talk about with Michigan from a broad strokes perspective, and I think how they're feeling right now going forward. We'll talk about that right now, but make sure you subscribe right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Michigan fans, man, had a lot of y'all dialed in for us for a while now in terms of being subscribed to this channel. We love y'all and appreciate y'all for it. If you have not yet subscribed, hey, now's the time. A lot of big games left to be played. We're going to break a lot of them down. We're going to talk a lot about your Wolverines, so dial in right here. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, the little button under the icon of this channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JDPakel to just stay up in real time with everything that we got going on right here on this show on the Hard Count. So Michigan State, let's not beat around the bush. They're not great, right? I mean, they're kind of a team that's in shambles right now with what's going on internally and everything with their head coaching situation. I don't want to just totally make too much out of this game because you beat Michigan State if you're Michigan. At the end of the day, did what you're supposed to do. Beat a team that's not really supposed to hang with you, and you beat them in the fashion you're supposed to beat them. But I think what we talk about with Michigan is that consistent effort to advance and to get stronger and to build that muscle, because they don't have that same resistance that you would have seen from some other teams across the country in terms of the schedule they're playing right now. Not all of it's Michigan's fault. Some of that's by nature of what the Big Ten is right now with some of the teams that are playing. And so for Michigan, the challenge is, can you still impose that resistance on yourself and have this standard and play to this standard to where you're still building that muscle by nature of your expectations, if that makes sense. So what got to work out for Michigan on Saturday night was the pass game. J.J. McCarthy has just evolved so much in my estimation from last year to this year. We talked about it last week, talked about it during the week this week. He just is in total ownership of this Michigan offense. And the pass game yesterday was what got the real workout. He threw for 287 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns. And the thing that stood out to me about J.J. McCarthy, the thing I love about his game right now is the way that he's playing off schedule. And that's kind of a term you hear quarterback gurus throw out there, and it sounds real cool on a caption. It sounds real cool when you're coaching up a quarterback. All off schedule really means is the play breaks down, and you got to find a way to deliver the football to an open receiver, right? So play breaks down, pocket collapses, he steps up, gets out on the edge, and J.J. McCarthy, one, keeps his eyes downfield because he's so comfortable within this offense. He trusts the system. He trusts his playmakers. He trusts himself. And then the athleticism to be able to extend the play, I don't think should be overlooked. And the arm talent to make the throws on the run, to deliver the football on a dime, and to put that second level and third level of the defense in conflict, because he might just tuck it and run and hurt you that way. He's a good athlete, like we talked about. I think that's the next evolution we're seeing now from J.J. McCarthy, and it makes this Michigan offense that much more dangerous. On top of that, the tight end play yesterday. Colston Loveland, I've said it a couple times. I think he is very sneakily, from a skill set perspective, one of the better tight ends in the country that doesn't get enough buzz. He had 2 touchdown receptions yesterday. They played a lot of 2 tight end sets, has Michigan, which isn't new for them, but the way they're involving them in the pass game right now, I think makes them that much more multiple offensively, to where if Michigan comes out in double tight, yeah, we know Michigan's going to run the football a fair amount at you downhill. It's who they are. They don't apologize for it. They did that yesterday as well. But when you can involve the double tight ends in the pass game to the same effect, that keeps you off balance if you're a defense. It means you can't just sell out to stop the run with your run fits. It means you have to give some attention to those tight ends downfield. Otherwise, they're going to burn you, and J.J. McCarthy's going to make you pay in that sense. So putting that on tape, even though it's throttling Michigan State, it's going to pay dividends for them when they play Penn State, when they play Ohio State. It's kind of setting up some things on tape. So, like I said at the top of this thing, stealing signs is a big punchline right now for a lot of people across the social media landscape, a lot of people that aren't fans of Michigan. It's some ammo now. And that's fair. Hey, what goes around comes around. It's college football, Twitter to some extent. You only take it as seriously as maybe you are thinking about it once you put the app down. So take that with a grain of salt. But all that was said about sign stealing and Michigan this and, what they did previously. Like, I put out a tweet, and I think I even said it on a video on Friday or Thursday it was, rather, when this whole news kind of got out there. Let's not pretend Michigan and the whole sign stealing fiasco is what should be attributed to their success. And again, Michigan State, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're a world beater or they're a team that should have hung around with Michigan. But I will tell you this, I can pretty confidently tell you and assume that they probably changed their signals from week to week, knowing what was going on with Michigan based on what they were informed of. Didn't matter last night. Didn't make a difference last night, did it? I don't think it's mattered for Michigan what signs they did or didn't have. Now, if they broke rules, again, I've talked about that before. If they broke the rules, that deserves consequences. There's a whole other video on that, so we're not going to address that here. But I want to take this back to the football field. Say whatever you want about Michigan and what happened previously. Like, what happened between the lines last night, I think, was a statement. And it feels a lot like this Michigan team is finding their edge. And they've already had an edge. Like, we know that's kind of how Michigan's built. But if Michigan didn't have a big enough chip on their shoulder to begin with, they do now. What was a chip at some point in time, it's got to be a boulder right now. And I think that's dangerous because Michigan, in my estimation, that's where they thrive. That's where Michigan really starts to cook a little bit. When they're the underdog, when nobody saying good things about them, when they're talked down upon. And they were saying that last year, and that was what they fed on was, well, yeah, they won the Big Ten title one time, but Ohio State, come on now. Like, C.J. Stroud, Marvin Harrison Jr., all they got over there, like, come on now. Michigan, that's a nice story, but are they really going to beat Ohio State twice? And then they did that and won the Big Ten title twice in a row. So that conversation on the field now kind of shifted to where nobody's really doubting Michigan the same way they were. So Michigan, in classic Michigan fashion, draws from other places to get motivation. The Jim Harbaugh suspension thing. They're rocking the free Harbaugh shirts, and there's this edge of like us against the world. You took our head coach, played with an edge. They fed off of that. That was the ammunition they needed. And now you throw another log on the fire of the whole thing with sign stealing and, again, punchline culture being directed at Michigan now. This is exactly what they feed on. This is exactly what they love. This is that fuel. It's dangerous to give an operation like Michigan the fuel they require, the fuel that they love. I promise they've got enough internal juice to still play their best football. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think their culture's strong enough to have that kind of approach. But to add in now the external circumstances they can draw upon and band together and get in the foxhole and lock arms and say, nobody wants to see us do what we're about to do right now. Let's go handle business. Michigan against the world. I think that's bad news for college football because it kind of gives more clarity to Michigan and what their mission is. It fights against complacency. It's more bulletin board material. It's not good. It's not good for the rest of the country. So, the 3-game season for Michigan, this is not what's ahead for them right now in the immediate future, but we can all understand the 3-game season for them at Penn State, sandwiched conveniently in between the Ohio State game, is at Maryland, and then they got the Ohio State game in the Big Ten title. Want to circle back to J.J. McCarthy really quick. He will have every opportunity now from a Heisman Trophy ceremony standpoint to get to New York City based on those stages. You ball at Penn State, you do what you're supposed to do against Maryland, play your best football against Ohio State, play well in the Big Ten title game. With the way this offense is operating right now and allowing him to cook a little bit more, I think he will be right there in that Heisman conversation, or has the potential to, has the stages to, when it comes to November. So, that's Michigan. Again, took care of business. Checked another box. They're in hunting mode. They always were, but they got Paul Bunyan's trophy yesterday. And, I mean, again, I think they're dangerous with what they have under the hood right now and the fuel they're being fed. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the On The YouTube channel. College football, only college football, the way that you like it. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Pakel. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.